Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. In this video I want to show you a really cool trick. Actually two cool tricks. First, how can you do it when you're seeing an amazing scene at night and you don't have a tripod and you want to get a really cool photo or you want to print in big like this. For example, this is my Venice book and this is a photo that I shot at 1250 ISO, really high ISO. At the end of this video I'm going to show you how I process the whole photo. But first I'm going to show you in Photoshop a really cool trick to take out the noise. If you've got too much noise in a photo, this could change your life because it means you could get gallery quality photos at night without a tripod. Let's do it. All right, so before we get started, I just want to show you a little story about this photo. This is a photo I shot in Venice. This is the view from the Accademia Bridge. One of my favorite spots I do every year when I go to my workshops. I do a workshop every year in Venice. And this was just a fabulous blue hour night. And it was so much people, but so much people on the bridge that I couldn't put my tripod on. So I ended up shooting this photo, if you look at it, at, I think, 1250. What I did is I went to ISO f4 because that's all I had. I like a 24, I had the 1635 on. But it was an f4 lens at the time, so I went to f4, and then I went to 1/10 of a second, and I was holding it because it's a mirrorless. Mirrorless, you can really go low on, because they have amazing in-body stabilization, and I got a pretty sharp photo, but it was very noisy, and I'm going to show you how I retouched it, and basically it became one of my best photo in my Venice book. So, I discovered something that's really interesting. I want to show you. Usually when I take photos in Venice at night, I take on a tripod and I get this kind of photo, which is like, this is a 30-second exposure. You see the water is very flat. And but the problem, look at the light. Look at the light, how the light is really large and very burned in water compared to this one, where the light is kind of like much more kind of what we're used to see. It's a lot of like little stars. And I actually prefer that kind of water over that kind of water. And this became this photo changed my life because it became a new style of photography. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how I retouched it, the full workflow. But for now, I want to show you a really cool trick. So here is the trick. Let's say you're walking into Paris really deep at night and you see something that you want to take a photo, but you don't have a tripod. Well, I give you a little trick. What you can do is you can basically put your camera on a multiple, you try to hold your camera very still, and then you put your camera on the second timer, and you have often cameras have a mode where you can take like 3-4 photos. You just press, it's going to wait 2 seconds, and it's going to take like 5 photos. And on this one, I took different photos here. On this one, I took different photos, as you can see, and they were just taken just a few seconds away. But you can see I'm moving because I think on this one, I just put my camera on like multiple shot and I just went and took like 6 shots, right? And here is the trick. It's a really cool trick. So I'm going to open up the shadows and I'm going to do my natural drama formula that I usually do, which is first exposure. So let's make this much brighter. Let's maybe lower a little bit the highlights, but not too much. Let's do the black point. So you hold on the option key and you go left until you get about 1% of black, but you can see it's very noisy. And then I'm going to do my white point. So I'm holding on the option key. I'm going right. When it comes to, so it's the option key on a Mac or the Alt key on Windows. And I'm going to go right. Yeah, something like that. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, and then, so now I got a basic exposure that I kind of like, but look how noisy the photo is. It's just a cluster of noise. It's so bad. Like, it's so bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little more blue and maybe a little more magenta so that it looks nice. It's a nice scene, but it's like there's people there and it's just so noisy. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to zoom in 100% and let's see if we can do something about the noise here. So I can do, and I know there is a lot of plugins. By the way, if you've got a good trick on how to get rid of noise, please leave me a comment on how you do it. I'm really curious. I'm very, very curious. So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like the noise reduction, like maybe at 20. I try not to go over 20 because if you go over 20 on Lightroom, it just becomes too blurry. So I'm going to do 20, and usually what I do is I take the number 100, I take out what I put in noise reduction, which is 20, and that gives me 80. So I'm going to put the sharpening around 80. Okay, but you see it's still very noisy. So what I'm going to do, because what's happening is all this sharpening that you're seeing is being applied, you see, is being applied everywhere. I only want it to be on where there's a bit of contour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again hold on the Option key or the Alt key on Windows, and I'm going to go right on the masking tool. And what you see here in black basically is not going to get sharpened. Only the white is going to get sharpened. It's like a mask. Black conceal, white reveals. And now it's already a little bit better, but it's still very noisy. It's so noisy, it's not even funny. So what can we do? What can we do? Well, because I took different photos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the photos and I'm going to click on synchronize, and I'm going to check all, and I'm just going to synchronize everything that I did here on this photo, right? The white balance, everything I did on this photo. Oh, one little trick you can do actually, because as part of my basically as part of my natural drama formula, which I have a book on this, which give you like 5 steps to retouch your photo, I usually use a profile at this point. So a profile on this one, maybe I use like Adobe Landscape. Yeah, Adobe Landscape is going to make the color more deep. Or you can go to camera matching and go to camera matching landscape, whichever you think is nicer. I think on this one, I think I'm going to go to camera landscape. The way this works, camera matching basically is every brand, and I think this was a Sony, that's a Sony A7R1, I think it was a long time ago. Sony provides to Lightroom some profile, which you can actually have in your camera on their creative profile. And so what I did is I just go here. So if you want to match the same thing, I like to go to vivid or landscape. And this just make the color like more rich. Okay, and then let's close that. And then maybe you can go here in hue, saturation, and luminance. Let's go to hue. So what I do when I go in hue is I click this little tool, which is the targeted tool, and I click on like the yellow, and if I go up, it becomes green. If I go down, it becomes red, right? I don't want that. But maybe just a little bit of going away. I don't like the green. So by adding a bit of orange, I don't know. I kind of like it, but then it's too saturated. So we can go to saturation and just basically click here again, click on this tool, click here, and maybe desaturate a little bit the colors of the night. Just a little bit, not so much, just a tad. And you can see before, after. It's not much. I call it color refinement, okay? And then you can do further color refinement, like you can go and give like a Hollywood look in color grading, meaning you can add like some blue in the shadow and some warm in the highlights. It's a classic, it's kind of like a film look. Why not? Let's do that. So I'm kind of happy with what I got. It's a cool photo, but it's noisy as it's totally unusable, right? So I'm going to select all this photo and I'm going to synchronize all we did on the first one by checking all. And now every photo has got the exact same profile, everything. But you can see they are not well aligned because I shot this. You can see the people walking and I shot this like maybe in 1 second. And so, people are moving, bicycles are moving, all that stuff. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do a magic in Photoshop to erase all that noise. So I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to do a special edit. Open as layers in Photoshop. And that's what that's going to do is it's going to open. So it's going to open everything in Photoshop all on the same layer. And you see, I don't have, my layer is on the second screen. It's here. Now, if you don't see the same thing that I do, so let me go to the zoom here and press Alt to zoom out. I'm going to put the layers here. If you don't see this layer, you can go to Windows, Layers to make sure it's checked. Or you can go to Windows, Workspace, and you can go to Photography. I like Photography. The layer went on my second screen again. Or you can go back to Windows Arrange Essential. Okay, and here we are. All we really care about is the layers, okay? And let's zoom in at 100% so we can see what we're doing. When you zoom in at 100%, because you're on the zoom tool, you can press the space bar to go up. Most of the noise is going to be very visible in the sky. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create like a before. So I'm going to click this and put it on a plus. And this one, we're going to call it like the before photo. We're going to sort of save it. So I'm going to unclick it. This is a duplicate of this one. And then I'm going to select all of these ones. But because I was shooting by hand, because I had no tripod, every photo is a little bit moving, right? So I'm going to go first to edit. and I'm going to go to auto align layers and just use the default feature, and it's going to align everything. It's going to align all the photo, which is very vital. If you don't do this step, what I'm going to show you is not going to work. Okay, so now everything is aligned. You don't know it, but it's all aligned, perfectly aligned. And you can see, actually, if I turn this off, the visibility of this, you can see that the noise is different from one photo to the next. And this is what Photoshop is going to use to its advantage. This is the whole trick. So I'm going to select that. I have all these photos selected. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go convert to smart object. Now, convert to smart object is going to take all these aligned photo and put them into one photo kind of thing, but they're all there. And now here's the magic trick. You go to layer, smart object, okay? Follow me here, stack mode, and here you got some really weird names, like medium, mean, minimum. The one I usually do is medium. And what that's going to do is going to analyze all the photos and see which pixels are not in common and basically get rid of that, okay? And you can try different, and look at that, look at the difference. I don't know if you can tell, but look at the difference. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You see, that's the before. Look how noisy it is. And that's the after. It took out a lot of noise. It's still some noise, but it took a lot. Look at this, before and after. But that's not all. Look, the people that were, the bicycle, they are like almost gone. Look at the water. The water has got like a little bit of a lone exposure effect to it. Yeah, it actually even erased stuff that was moving, which is kind of cool, or at least made them less apparent, which is really, really cool. And then let's try another one, see if we get a better result. So you can go to layers, smart object, stack mode. Let's try mean. I think mean sometimes gives good result. Mean also get a very clean result. Actually kind of almost better than, yeah, it's kind of even better, I think. Let's try now layer, smart object, and let's try minimum. That's the three that I use. And I try all three and see which one works the best. I think, yeah, I think at the end of this one made it darker. I think at the end of the day, I prefer stack mode. Let's go back to medium. I think medium was the best result. And it's just a really cool way. So every time I see like an amazing scene at night and I don't have my tripod, I just take this multiple photo and I can get rid of about 80% of the noise. And it just also gives like a really cool effect. Don't forget to like this video. It really makes a difference. I try to do 2 videos per week. And if you like this video, it helps me. Thank you. So now let me show you how I retouch this photo, which is maybe one of my favorite photos in the last 17 years. So again, I was on the Academy Bridge. That's the original raw file. And it was crazy because there was so much people I couldn't put my tripod on, just couldn't put it. It was just overwhelmed of people. So anyways, but it's very noisy and I wanted this photo to be in my book. So what I did is this, I opened the shadows. I don't break, so on night photo, I don't touch the highlights very much. Then I do my black point as always. And what I'm doing now, and then I do my white point, holding the option key always. I like to control what's the darkest. Like I don't mind having about like 1% dark. When you hold out the option key, what you see here in black is pixels which are the 100% black. There's no more information. So I kind of like that. And as part of my natural formula, you have the book. You can have the book for free if you watch the workshop that goes with it. It's the links under the video. But basically what I do is I always do exposure first. And then I do white balance, because if you do white balance before exposure, it's going to be hard because this photo was too dark. So now on this one, I added a lot of magenta. This was a time where I was in love with magenta, and so that's step number 2. All I did is add a bit of magenta. Plus, usually I go here, and that's the other track, and I use either. Look at this, Adobe Landscape, beautiful. Let's check camera matching. Camera matching, I either go for landscape or I go for vivid. In this case. And a profile basically just interprets the photo different. And it matches exactly what you have on your camera when you go to the creative styles. So I'm going to go here. I usually, by the way, that's a little trick. When you use a Sony camera, if you have a Sony camera or any camera, try to use a profile like vivid or landscape. The reason is, when we retouch our raw file, we always give them more colors than often in reality. Although this ended up to be pretty close to what I remember seeing that night. And it's just that when you shoot raw, sometimes it becomes very neutral, like, and you can't really appreciate the photo. So I always make sure that my white balance is matching as much the artistic decision that I want, that it's matching the scene, what I'm shooting at. And I'm also using a creative style, which is either vivid or landscape. And you can set that on your camera, on the Sony camera. You just go to creative style and you put landscape or vivid. That way, the preview that's on the back of your camera will be, a preview using this profile. Okay, so now I did step number 2, which is the white balance. Step number 3 is refining colors. In this one, I'm happy with the colors. I'm just going to do step number 4, which is the white. I'm just going to do number 4, which is dodge and burn. And dodge and burn, you just go here. And in this case, I'm going to go linear gradient. And I'm going to use this new feature, which I love in the new Lightroom. I'm going to show this to you in a second. All I'm going to do is I'm going to basically lower a lot the sky, but you see it's also lowering the buildings. Check this out. Look at this mask here. Before, after. I only wanted to affect the sky, not the buildings, but check this out. I can go here, and that's a new feature. I can click on the 3 points, and I can go to intersect mask with sky. And all that's going to do is that, look at that, boom, it relighted the building. Check it out. Now the mask only influences the sky. Isn't that magic? Okay, last but not least, I really want to, it's like a dodge and burn. So I burn the sky now, I'm going to dodge here. Oh, wow, look at that. There's a star. We had a star coming up. Ooh, really cool. I want people to really focus inside of this photo. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a radial gradient here in the middle because I want people to look in the middle. And I'm just going to add a little bit of exposure and maybe a little bit of yellow. Let's see. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of magenta. And you see, check this out. It's like I have a little lamp here just to focus the eyes inside. And I can do the same trick. Like I only want this radial circle to affect the sky. So I can go here and I can do the same thing. Go here, intersect mask with select sky. And boom. And now look at this. The circle only influences the back of the photo. Isn't that cool? That's a feature I didn't have. Okay, now let's take care of the noise because this was a very noisy photo. So on this one, there's not much you can do on the noise. All you can do, of course, you can use, Luminar has an amazing plugin for noise. Topaz has an amazing plugin for noise. If you don't have these plugins, what you can do is just go, and that's what I did. I did my formula. So you take 20 noise reduction, okay? And then sharpening around 80. And the masking, remember the masking. You hold on the option key and you mask until the whole sky is black. And you know what? The grain that was left actually turned out amazing during the print. It really turned out amazing. One of my favorite photo of Venice ever. That night was so magical. And by the way, that night I did not intend to take photos. It was just I came out of a restaurant and I saw this scene and I was like so taken by the beauty of Venice. I'm really happy how it came out. By the way, I just came up with a new video called 10 hacks in Lightroom that will change your life forever. You can just click on that video to watch it right now. It's going to change your life forever. But don't forget to pick up my Lightroom book by watching the workshop.